expressed to the parents, because parents already perform this duty, granted. But this is what we say from the rule of law perspective, that individuals may do everything except that which is expressly prohibited by the law. Government may do nothing except that which is expressly permitted by the law.
Absolutely.
So the individuals have broader latitude. The government must justify its actions as having been founded in the law. The question on the moral and ethical questions that we're debating now, I think provokes this kind of reaction. I've asked myself, do we as Kenyans have a shared and settled understanding of what constitutes our identity, our moral and value system? We don't. And how do we inculcate, how do we build that? This conversation is intensely extra-legal.
Yeah.
Meaning it's occurring not outside or against the law or the Constitution, but beyond the law.
Yeah.
Beyond the law. That is what extra-legal means. Beyond the law. The law has intrinsic limits. And I keep on cautioning Kenyans. The law is very complex. If it wasn't, you wouldn't have lawyers. And those lawyers don't agree. Because by the inbuilt design is that you do something, then the courts ask what is the rational justification. And then there's a whole debate whether this action is rational or not. And then you argue back and forth, it was not rational, it's rational. And then the court makes a determination. Meanwhile, you lose fundamental issues around that argument, which is why having a conversation that is extra-legal goes beyond the law has more benefit. Now, for me, Ayub, this is what I would consider as the pressing problem. The pressing problem in our Kenyan society, and if you can reflect on it, the emerging pattern, and it's also a global phenomenon, of moral relativism. What is right depends on the context. Now, that's a very dangerous terrain. If you leave it unchecked, that what is right depends on the context, then anything goes.
Yeah.
Anything that can't enter your imagination will happen. The citizens will do what they want. The government will react the way it wants, because there's no limit. There's no limit. And if you want to find limits in the law, then the lawyers will trap you there. Because as I earn a living by practicing law, after this show, I'm in court. Right? That's why I was able to drive here. Because someone has to pay my bills as a lawyer. Now, beside what I do for bread and butter, there is an intrinsically intimate conversation I should be having with myself. And that's why I see the value in this conversation. For me, I'm not prepared to let our religious leaders off the hook. Because Kenyans are religious.
Yeah.
And I want to tap into that existing potential to be able to renew our commitment to the things we hold dear. If you're talking about the quest for revival of our Kenyan state, that conversation cannot start without a reflection of the impact and influence of our religious teaching on our lives. The other one is what lawyers call legal archiving. Legal archiving, I've been observing it keenly. There was a guy called Professor Hansongole, may God rest his soul in peace. He was a leading jurist and a scholar at the University of Pretoria, a Zambian jurist, yeah? He told me sometime back in 2016, Steve, you have a beautiful story. You are a product of the grace, kindness, and generosity of people who didn't even have an idea of what the Bill of Rights says. You are not educated by your parents. You are educated by your parents and the community.
Yeah.
As you walk to school, you drink water on the road, you are given a banana, you are given sugarcane, you share lunch. Nobody ever told those people that the Bill of Rights says so. So how can you appeal to that, what is uniquely African? South Africans call it Ubuntu. Ours, I don't know, they call it Harambe.
Utu.
Utu. What is Harambe? Utu. Ayub.
Yes.
That Utu in us, there's something inherently beautiful in us that we are suppressing instead of allowing it to blossom, to flourish, and then to project it on a bigger scale. As an election law expert, I disagree very fiercely with our religious leaders here who are trying to tell us that we can re-engineer our state through the ballot. Forget about it. The ballot in Kenya and in Africa and in the States is not the solution. Because the way people access power is spend a lot of money on election campaign because the voters at that time, because they're poor and disparate, and they have an inbuilt thought mindset that you'd rather elect someone who has given us something. That system doesn't generate the kind of results we want. The kind of results that we want, a revolution of the mind, a revolution of morals and ethics, will not come from the ballot.
All right.
It will come from the pulpit and our how do you call our mosques?
Yes,
it will come from there.
The member.
It will come from there. And then it will come from the dinner table that